The cabin lights flickered briefly as Flight 237, a red-eye from Atlanta to Seattle, rumbled down the runway. In row 12, Naomi Carter, a 32-year-old black single mother, steadied herself as the aircraft's engines roared louder. She squeezed the small hand of her son, Micah, an 8-year-old with bright eyes and a Spider-Man backpack hanging loosely over his shoulder. Naomi's hands, calloused from endless double shifts as a nurse, clutched 2 boarding passes, seats 12A and 12B. After months of overtime, pinching every penny, she'd finally managed to afford this trip. It wasn't just a vacation. It was a pilgrimage to introduce Micah to his great-grandmother, a woman who had taught Naomi how to stand tall in a world that so often tried to push her down. Micah tugged at her sleeve, his sneakers squeaking against the narrow aisle's carpet. "Mama," he whispered, his voice tinged with sleep. "How much longer till we get there?" "Soon, baby," Naomi said softly, glancing at their boarding passes again. She tucked them carefully into her jacket pocket and steered Micah forward toward row 12. But when they reached it, Naomi's stomach dropped. Their seats were occupied. A man, mid-40s, salt and pepper hair slicked back with expensive precision, lounged comfortably across both seats. His legs stretched, polished leather shoes propped arrogantly on the tray table. His navy suit hugged his broad frame like it was tailored for royalty. Without glancing up from his phone, he muttered, "Taken." Naomi inhaled slowly, gathering the strength she'd honed in sterile hospital corridors where respect wasn't always freely given. "Excuse me," she said calmly, "but these are our seats, 12A and 12B. The man flicked his eyes toward her for barely a second before returning his gaze to his phone. His lips curled into a dismissive smirk. "I paid extra," he said, his tone steeped in condescension. "First come, first serve." Micah shifted uneasily, his hand tightening around Naomi's fingers. He didn't understand the words, but he knew the tone. Naomi kept her voice even, though anger coiled inside her. "Sir, I have boarding passes for these seats. Paid for as signed." The man shrugged as if she were a minor inconvenience, then went back to scrolling. Naomi turned, her pulse quickening. She spotted a flight attendant 3 rows up, standing with an air of authority. Tall, with a tight blonde bun and a navy uniform starched to perfection. A clipboard was tucked beneath her arm. Naomi stepped forward. "Ma'am, could I get some assistance?" The flight attendant pivoted with the practiced precision of someone used to control. Her name tag read Catherine Shaw. Her eyes landed on Naomi and Micah, flicking over them as if assessing the potential for trouble. Then, just as quickly, she glanced at the man sprawled across their seats. "What's the problem?" Catherine asked, her voice clipped. Naomi held up the boarding passes. "That man's sitting in our seats, 12A and 12B. I have the tickets right here." Catherine gave the passes a cursory glance, but didn't take them from Naomi's hand. "Sir," she said, turning toward the suited man. Her tone softened. "Is this your seat?" He barely shrugged. "I don't know." I sat down. Naomi exhaled through her nose. "These are our seats," she repeated, her voice firm, extending the passes again. "We're assigned here." Catherine's expression hardened. "We're fully booked tonight. You'll need to find another seat," she said, folding her arms. Naomi blinked. "I'm sorry. I paid for these seats." "We don't have room for this," Catherine snapped. "You're making it harder than it has to be." Micah tugged at Naomi's hand again. "Mama, why won't they let us sit?" Naomi's heart clenched. She was used to this, the subtle dismissal, the unspoken accusation that she was the problem, but not in front of Micah. Not with him watching. Her breath came faster now, a mix of anger and something deeper, fear. "I'm not making anything harder," she said slowly. "I'm asking for what's mine." Passengers nearby turned, some curious, others annoyed. Naomi could hear murmurs, "Causing trouble, of course." She stood her ground, even as Catherine turned away, effectively ending the conversation. But Naomi wasn't done. Her voice rose, cutting through the hum of the cabin. "Get the captain. I want this fixed." That's when a passenger, a lanky college student in a hoodie 2 rows behind them, raised his phone and started recording. "This is racist," he said loud enough for half the plane to hear. Catherine flinched. A flicker of panic crossed her face before it was masked again. She barked in her radio, calling for security. Naomi bent toward Micah. "We're okay," she whispered. "I promise." From a galley, another flight attendant emerged. Margaret Collins was older, her dark curls streaked with silver, her face lined with experience. She moved with quiet authority, and when she spoke, the noise in the cabin dipped. "What's happening?" Margaret asked. Naomi seized the opportunity. "I have boarding passes for 12A and 12B. That man's in our seats." Catherine won't even look. Margaret took the passes, studying them properly. She turned toward the man. "Sir, can I see your boarding pass?" He shrugged. "Lost it." Margaret frowned. "I'll check the manifest." For a moment, Naomi felt hope. But when Margaret returned, her expression was tight. "There's been a system error," Margaret said. "Those seats were reassigned. I'm sorry, a mess. Carter, you'll need to take another seat." The air left Naomi's lungs. "But," Catherine's smirk widened. "Told you. Fully booked." Security arrived then, 2 men in dark vests. "Ma'am," one said, "we need you to move." "I'm not the problem," Naomi said, but Micah's grip on her hand was trembling. She didn't want to scare him more than he already was. She took the middle seat they offered 5 rows back, her son crammed beside her between 2 strangers. The man in her original seat stretched his legs further, claiming the space as his own. Naomi stared at the seat back in front of her, humiliated. But she wasn't beaten. Not yet. Hours into the flight, as the plane leveled off, Catherine returned, carrying a coffee pot. Naomi watched her carefully as the blonde attendant passed. She didn't trust the flicker in Catherine's eyes. And she was right not to. With a subtle flick of her wrist, Catherine splashed scalding coffee across Micah's lap. Micah screamed. Naomi lunged, ripping off her scarf to wrap his leg. "It's okay, baby, I've got you," she whispered, heart pounding. "Oh no," Catherine said, voice syrupy. "Clumsy little boy." Naomi shot to her feet. "You did that on purpose." Catherine didn't react. Instead, she keyed the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a passenger unable to control her child." Gasps. Mutters. "Some people shouldn't be parents," someone hissed. Micah sobbed. Naomi cradled him close. That's when Naomi realized this wasn't just about seats. It was power, control, and they had it. Or did they? The college student, whose name she'd learned was Dylan, had streamed the entire encounter. The video had already gone viral. A woman in a sharp suit, Harper Lane, turned around from 2 rows up. "I'm an attorney," she said. "We can sue them." For the first time all night, Naomi's pulse slowed. Catherine barked in her radio again, but the captain himself emerged. "Apologize," he ordered Catherine. Now, her apology was hollow, but it was something. Then Bradley, a politician and Catherine's cousin, Naomi realized, stood up. "She assaulted me," he shouted, pointing at Naomi. More security, more shouting. Naomi was cuffed and dragged away. And yet, Dylan's video kept streaming. Back on the ground in Boise, as the plane made an emergency landing, Naomi was hauled from the galley in handcuffs. Micah's cries faded as a social worker took him away. Inside the police van, Naomi's pulse pounded in her ears. But then, Dylan appeared on every screen. The video exposed everything. Catherine's coffee attack, Bradley's lies. The FBI got involved. Bradley and Catherine were arrested. Naomi was released. Micah was returned to her arms. It wasn't over. Not yet. Gloria, Margaret, had fled with stolen money. But Naomi wasn't chasing shadows. She was holding her son, and she had a voice.